The 2024 general election may have resulted in a Labour landslide, but there's one result that has left political analysts stunned: Nigel Farage's unprecedented victory in Clacton. In what many thought would be a straightforward win for the major parties, Farage shocked everyone by not only outperforming Prime Minister Keir Starmer in voter turnout, but also amassing more votes in his constituency. How did the leader of Reform UK, long considered a relic of the Brexit era, pull off such a stunning achievement? The political landscape is shifting, and it's happening faster than anyone expected. But first, hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on the most explosive political stories in the UK. Now let's dive into the fascinating details behind this election shocker and why it could signal even bigger things to come for Nigel Farage. The 2024 general election will undoubtedly be remembered for Labour's overwhelming victory, but if you peel back the headlines, one story stands out: a shock result in the coastal town of Clacton. Nigel Farage, who had been largely written off by mainstream pundits, not only secured more votes than the Prime Minister in their respective constituencies, but also managed to inspire a higher voter turnout in his corner of Essex. And he did all this with only a month's notice. Farage's resurgence wasn't just about winning votes, it was about igniting a movement. In Clacton, Farage amassed 21,225 votes, surpassing Keir Starmer's 18,884 in Holborn and St Pancras. That's right. Farage outperformed the sitting Prime Minister by 2,341 votes. But that's just the beginning of this incredible political story. The real jaw-dropper comes when you look at the turnout figures. Farage was able to energise 45,958 people to head to the polls in Clacton, while Starmer could only muster 38,602 voters in his constituency. Farage's ability to mobilise an electorate that has long been ignored is a testament to his enduring appeal. The turnout difference? A staggering 7,356 voters, which translates to a 19.1% higher turnout in Clacton than in Starmer's own backyard. These numbers suggest something much deeper is happening in British politics. Farage has long been known as a master of tapping into the undercurrents of public dissatisfaction, and his win in Clacton proves that he still holds sway over large swathes of the electorate. What's even more remarkable is that Farage entered this election without the machinery of a major party behind him. In contrast, Starmer has spent nearly a decade as the MP for Holborn and St Pancras and had the entire Labour Party infrastructure at his disposal. Despite all that, it was Farage who came out on top in terms of sheer voter mobilisation. So, how did Farage pull this off? It's not just about numbers, it's about understanding the pulse of the nation. Farage's campaign tapped into frustrations that many Britons feel: disillusionment with the political elite, concerns over the economy, and the growing feeling that traditional parties no longer represent ordinary people. In many ways, Farage's message resonated because he positioned himself as the anti-politician, the man who speaks for the left behind. This is a narrative he has cultivated for years, and it appears to be paying off in spades. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer's numbers tell a different story, one of a leader who is struggling to connect with his own electorate. Starmer's vote count in 2024 was nearly halved compared to his results in 2019, dropping from 36,641 votes to 18,884. Some of this decline can be attributed to redistricting, but the broader trend is clear. Starmer is losing ground. His majority, while still respectable at 11,572, pales in comparison to the energy and momentum behind Farage's campaign. And let's not forget, Farage flipped a Conservative stronghold with a 24,702 vote majority from the 2019 election and still managed to secure an 8,405 vote majority for himself. This was no small feat. While Farage's victory in Clacton is stunning, the real story may be his growing popularity on a national scale. Since the election, Farage has continued to rise in the polls, while Starmer's star has been dimming. According to YouGov's popularity tracker, Farage now holds a 33% approval rating, while Starmer has plummeted to 22%. This is a dramatic fall from grace for the Prime Minister, whose approval has been sliding ever since he took office. What's driving this drop in Starmer's popularity? It comes down to a series of missteps and controversies that have plagued his premiership. One of the most significant blunders was the decision to slash the winter fuel payment for all but the poorest pensioners, a move that was met with outrage from both the public and his own party members. On top of that, Starmer's government has been criticised for its handling of prison overcrowding, with the early release of prisoners sparking fears about public safety. And then there are the scandals. Starmer's acceptance of £100,000 in gifts and tickets has raised serious ethical questions, with many wondering how a Prime Minister can accept such lavish gifts while claiming to represent the working class. His justification for accepting £20,000 worth of accommodation from Labour peer Wahid Ali, ostensibly to help his son study for his GCSEs, has done little to quell the outrage. These incidents have painted a picture of a leader who is out of touch with the struggles of ordinary Britons. Contrast that with Farage, who has managed to sidestep major controversies and keep his image relatively clean. Farage has long portrayed himself as a champion of the people, and his ability to steer clear of scandal only reinforces that image. The public sees him as someone who isn't tainted by the corruption and elitism that they associate with traditional politicians. In many ways, Farage has capitalised on Starmer's weaknesses, using them to position himself as the populist alternative. And it's working. Let's not forget that Farage has always been a polarising figure, but he thrives in environments where the public feels disenfranchised. His message of taking back control, whether it's over borders, the economy, or national sovereignty, has resonated deeply with voters who feel left behind by the political establishment. His win in Clacton wasn't just a fluke, it was the result of years of groundwork, cultivating a loyal base that sees him as their voice in a system that no longer serves them. As the dust settles from the 2024 general election, one thing is clear. Nigel Farage's political career is far from over. In fact, it may just be getting started. His victory in Clacton, coupled with his rising popularity, suggests that Farage is once again positioning himself as a major player on the UK's political stage. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer is facing an uphill battle, both in Parliament and in the court of public opinion. His approval ratings are in freefall, his policies are being criticised from all sides, and his personal scandals are tarnishing his leadership. The contrast between these two political figures couldn't be more striking. On one hand, you have Farage, who has managed to inspire and mobilise voters despite being written off by the political elite. On the other, you have Starmer, a Prime Minister who is struggling to maintain the trust of his own electorate. If the trends we're seeing continue, it's not hard to imagine Farage playing an even bigger role in British politics in the coming years. Could he one day challenge Starmer for the top job? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, Farage isn't going anywhere. So what do you think? Is Nigel Farage making a comeback that could reshape British politics, or is Keir Starmer simply going through a rough patch? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more breaking news and political analysis. Stay tuned, there's a lot more to come.